Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining my session today. My name is English Reed Jones. That's English with an I. And as Piper said, I am the CEO and founder of Millennials Versus Everybody. And I just want to say thank you tremendously. Thank you so much for being here with me today. For business, profit, impact, the power of social entrepreneurship. Just a little bit about me. I am a Detroit native. I grew up in Indian Village. I went to Bowling Green State University. I graduated magna cum laude with my degree in communication, with a focus in advocacy and an emphasis in social service. I've always had a heart to serve. After graduation, I spent 3 months in South Africa, and it was just life-changing. It just really taught me a different way to approach. It really taught me a different way to approach social change, right? Just a better way for me to be a change agent. And so I came home and I was like, wow, I want to work in social entrepreneurship, social responsibility. And it was super difficult to find a job in that space. So I started Millennials Versus Everybody, and I got really immersed in the startup ecosystem here in Detroit. I took Build Institute. You guys might have heard from them this week. I took a program with Prosperous Detroit, Michigan Women Forward. I took a program at University of Detroit Mercy, their Boost program. And I also took a program at TechTown, DTX/Detroit, which I will bring up later because it's relevant to my work today. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you so much again for being here. Sweet. So right now, I'm going to take a moment to go through today's agenda. We will first go over a couple of fast facts. We'll talk about the characteristics of giving and people's buying habits. So we'll talk about that first. And then we'll go into the power of narrative, right? Like your story is super important. And we'll talk about the power of narrative, how some people tell their story, and often, just a couple of tips of how you can think about telling yours. And then we'll talk about knowing your community. It's important to know the community that you serve, or that you're seeking to serve, that's around you. And then we will talk about what are your company's values, right? What's your value? What's your mission? Then we'll go into what nonprofits or community or groups align with your values. We'll talk about how you can connect with community organizations, which can be difficult sometimes. And then we'll talk about how do you turn your everyday skills and everyday operations into a vehicle for impact, okay? If that sounds good with everyone, go ahead and drop a 7 in the chat, 7 for completion in the chat. Make sure this sounds really good for everyone. And I wanted to touch on the picture that I have on the screen, the all hands in. I have a very inclusive leadership style. I want us all to feel included in today and put our hands in, because today we are going to learn how to be change agents, how we can put this in our business, which is super powerful and very important to our community. So let's get going. Cool. So I wanted to kind of set the tone and tell you all a little bit about my favorite quote. I truly believe that God blessed me with the optimistic spirit, a very giving heart, and a purpose to truly serve my community. And I'm so grateful. And this is a quote that I want us to think about moving forward in our presentation. So the quote reads, "We all want to be seen. We all want to know we matter. And the most you can ever do for somebody is to show up and allow them to know that they have been seen and heard by you." From Oprah Winfrey. I think this quote really just shows the human need for us to be seen, for us to know that we matter. Sometimes we don't always feel that way. And some of the communities that we're hoping to support and to impact might not always feel this way. And so through your business, through your everyday operations, you have a really wonderful opportunity to make sure people feel seen and heard by you and by your business. So it's super powerful quote that I hope that all of you all can think about moving forward. So cool, let's get into it. So these are some things to think about. A couple of quick facts just to, get you guys thinking about the importance of really thinking about your customers, right? There are a couple of considerations that they have before, sorry, people are blowing up my phone. But there are a couple of considerations that your clients or your customers think about before buying, right? We have a couple of purchasing habits that we have. And so on the slide, I featured millennials. Why? Because millennials, which are the age of like 24 to 38, right? They're expected to spend $1.4 trillion, okay, $1.4 trillion in 2020, and they're the largest segment in the workforce. Please put a 2 in the chat if you are trying to get a piece of that $1.4 trillion. Go ahead, put it in the chat. Put a 2 in the chat if you're trying to get a piece, just a little piece of that 1.4 trillion, because I know that I am, right? And so, in business, we all know it's super important to know our customers, to know what they like, how they feel, right? And if we're going to talk about millennials, I want to share with you all that research shows that 87% of millennials rather spend time with charitable businesses, right? What's a charitable business? Essentially, a business that gives back, that cares about their community, that kind of has a social responsibility team or has that woven into what their company is, who they stand for, right? And so just something to think about where millennials shop, right? How they shop and when they wear the brands they love. Those are all in close alignment to how they define themselves, right? So when we shop or when we get something, it's oftentimes tied to us, to our values, right? And so if we think about it from a lens of fundraising, we usually sell to the heart, right? We first sell to the heart and then to the head, right? Which wants facts and outcomes. And then the suspicious side of the person wants financial numbers, right? So people are complex in their motives and we're layered, right? So think about when you're selling something or when even as a buyer, right? You see something and it tugs at your heart and you're like, oh, okay, this is cute. This made me feel happy, right? And then you start to think about, okay, well, what would be the outcomes if I purchase this, right? And then you think about the price. Well, hey, how much is this, right? So it's just important to keep in mind when people shop, what are some of the things that they think about, right? And so, giving and supporting and, supporting a business that is socially responsible is something that actually feels good, okay? So researchers consistently find that volunteering and helping others, right, and giving back can lead to greater self-esteem, right, life satisfaction and sense of purpose, right? So just think about it. Just take a moment to think about it. When you've done something good for someone else, when you've volunteered, like, how did that make you feel, right? Like, giving feels good. It feels good to do good. So it's not something that you have to tug at on people. People want to do good work, right? In 2016, Americans donated more than $390 billion $390 billion, okay? This is the highest amount since before the recent recession, according to Giving USA. So people want to give, people want to help their communities. And in 2014, 84% of millennials employees gave to charity, right? And 70% of them donated more than an hour to a charitable cause, okay? And so research also shows that millennials are one of the most caring generations today. We want to make impact. We care about social causes. We really want to leave a space for our young people, for our children, for our legacy. To have a space of equity, right? To have a space of justice, to have a community that does good work. And so millennials are all about convenience. So just go ahead and kill two birds with one stone. Allow people to support your business, but also to support doing great work, to giving back, right? It's super awesome. It's convenient. It's a win-win. I think oftentimes, sometimes millennials, like we have Twitter fingers, or, we're passionate on social media. There's so much going on, but we don't always know how we can give back, right? How can we pour back into communities? And so you as a business can be an outlet and an opportunity for them to do that. Oh, if that makes sense, I hope I'm not moving too fast. Go ahead, stay involved with me, put a 1 in the chat. If that makes sense, if you think about yourself as a buyer, you think about things that tug on your heart a little bit, right? If you kind of have that, go ahead, put a 1 in the chat. Let's make sure we are involved and that makes sense. Awesome, thank you. So next, we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the power of narrative, okay? Your narrative is so powerful, right? The story that you tell is so powerful. Just start to think, how will your business be remembered, right? How do you want people to remember your business? Were you a business that gave back to the community? Were you a business that made tons of money? Were you a business that did it first? Were you the business that stood for what you believed in? How do you really want people to remember your business, okay? What testimonies are you going to be able to tell, right? People remember stories and experiences. What are you going to be able to say? How did you help your customer, right? What is a victory that they have from associating with your business, okay? So your business solves a problem. Every great business does, right? We think about, okay, we have the solution to some problem out there, right? And what is it? What is the problem that you solve? Does it make the world a better place? And that could be subjective. Like, are you feeding tons of people? Yeah, that's one thing. Are you simply bringing joy, convenience? All those things are great, right? And then you want to think outside the box and to expand your value. So up here, I have Green Path Bike Company. And I said that I would bring up TechTown yet again. So TechTown is phenomenal. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar, but make sure you check them out. I did a program called DTX Launch Detroit. It's phenomenal, essentially for recent graduates and college students who wanted to begin a tech company and to solve a problem, to make a change. And so my partner and I, we came up with the concept called the Give app, right? And our mission was to support nonprofits, right? To help them grow and expand in non-traditional measures by gaining support from young people, right? From millennials. And so during that time of my customer discoveries, I talked to over about 60 plus impact workers and leaders of nonprofits in the city of Detroit in the Wayne County area. And I had the awesome privilege of talking to the CEO of Green Path Bike Company. Some of you all might be familiar, but I know you guys see bikers who are slow rolling, who are doing their thing, and you see so much joy coming from them, right? And so when I talked to the CEO, I asked him some of his, pain points as being a nonprofit. And donor engagement is one thing that he said. And so we talked about that a little bit. And essentially he said that, as having a nonprofit around biking, he didn't feel super comfortable with asking for donations. He thought, nonprofits that are feeding young people or, doing more work in that space, he thought was he was more comfortable with asking money for things like that. And I said, okay. So I asked him, what's some of the people who enjoy biking with you? What's their testimony, right? How do they feel? And he shared with me that people who would bike on these slow roads, they would find so much joy. They would find peace and community. They really enjoyed themselves. Life is hard, things are going on, but when they're out there biking, they're so happy. They're getting their exercise on. They're meeting with their community, right? And so when he shared that with me, I said, wow, right? That's what you could have led with. I would love to donate to a nonprofit that I know that brings peace and exercise and community and joy. Those are all things that I value, that I believe is super important. And so that's what I mean when I say think outside the box and expand your value, right? Tell people about the testimony, about the impact that you truly make. Up under here, I have the ice cream shop, which I'm going to use as an example, and give you guys 3 tips to think about telling your narrative in real time, like a real-time experience, okay? So say one thing that you want to think about is being vulnerable, okay? Being authentic and being relatable, and always putting the person first, right? Your customer first. And recognizing your buyer's pain points. So say I go into an ice cream shop, and the male or female inside of there, it's like, hey, would you like to enjoy a savory, refreshing sherbet today? And, your client might be coming in there like, it is a hot day. I just want something good. I had ice cream the other day and it was a moment. It was nice, right? It was a nice moment. Your customer says yes, and you want to think about too, your customer is a hero, right? They're the hero. You come in, you've bought this phenomenal ice cream, you've treated yourself, right? And then you can go into recognizing the customer's values and say if they are that millennial, they care about impacting their community, they care about giving back, but they also really like convenience. So your business can speak to both. You can say, hey, the owner of this ice cream parlor, they've raised animals all their lives. They have a really sweet spot for animals. And so a portion of our proceeds this month are going to go to the local animal shelter. So this way you have an opportunity to not only receive, but to give, right? And it's a double satisfaction. Think about narrative. When someone wants to tell a story or an experience, they think about narrative. And so if I were to leave that ice cream parlor, I would be like telling my friends like, hey, I had this super savory ice cream. I treated myself, but I also gave to an animal shelter today, right? There's tons of people who have dogs, who love animals, and it's something that I would want to talk about, right? How powerful word of mouth marketing is, right? So be able to tell a story, narrative is so important. When you think about experiences or moments, you typically want to explain it in a narrative, right? You want to tell a story, you want to relate an experience. So even something as having an ice cream shop or having a bike company, you have the power to be socially responsible, okay? So that's just something I wanted to leave you all with when you're thinking about your narrative in real life, making sure that you are vulnerable and authentic and relatable. Your customer is your hero, and find an opportunity for your business to speak to their values, okay? Make sure you are not only receiving, but you're giving, right? What comes around goes around. Awesome. So now we're going to get into our value and our mission. So oftentimes when we begin business, these are some of the things that we think about, like, what are my company's values, right? What do I truly cherish? What is something that I want to be authentic through and through my business? What are the things that I value, okay? You want to think about that. What's your mission? Throughout your business, what is your mission? Like, truly, do you want to have a more inclusive tech industry, right? Do you want to literally be the most, the best ice cream parlor, whatever? Think about what do you want your mission to be? If you have a business, what do you want that outcome to be, right? Kind of thinking about your larger vision. Another thing that people don't oftentimes think about is really including their staff and their leadership into this conversation about their values and the things that matter to them. So you want to talk to your staff. Those are the people that help run your business, make sure it's successful every day. And ask them, what are some of the things you're passionate about, right? What are some of the things that you care about? And honestly, I will tell you, they will enjoy their workplace much more when they are passionate about the work that they're doing, right? When they know that there is purpose to this work, they will be much more efficient. They'll be happier to come to work. So really value what some of the things your staff have to say and things that they appreciate and cater as well. Okay, so once you have these values and you have your mission, you want to think, all right, community spark time. What nonprofits align with your values, right? What are some nonprofits that are out here that relate to the things that you care about, that's inside of your mission, right? I know it's sometimes difficult to do the research to figure out, hey, which nonprofit aligns with my values. I recognize it's a privilege for me to know so many nonprofits, so many community leaders, and if I want to make an impact in whatever space, it comes to me super quickly. But I know this is my passion, this is my work. Everyone does not have time, right? So if you're looking for resources on, hey, how do I find a nonprofit that aligns with my values? MVE, Millennials Vs Everybody, that's my company. I'm always open and here to help support you finding a nonprofit that aligns with your values. You can go to GuideStar. That's going to show you all the nonprofits that are signed up, that have all their paperwork, that are up to date. New is a nonprofit in the city of Detroit that you can reach out to in COAC. Some of you might have heard of COAC. I love, love, love COAC. They serve nonprofits in Wayne County area. So if you have any questions about nonprofits in the Wayne County area, you can reach out to COAC, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to support you. Think about what district and area your business is located in, right? You can think about your community. Where are you at? Are there things that are going on right now in your community that you can support, right? Just learn about really what's around you, okay? You can volunteer with the nonprofits around you, okay? Go in and have an outing, discover the nonprofits that are in your area. And what's really, really, really important, family, really important, okay, is that you ask them, how can I support you? How can my business support you? Don't assume that you know, right? Sometimes we're not coming from a bad place, but we have this savior mentality, right? We're not saviors, we are supporters, right? We're there to support and uplift and to encourage the work that these nonprofits are doing, to respect that space, right? They put in work day in and day out, and we're not here to assume that we know what they need help with, but we're really there to say, hey, how can I support you, right? How can I encourage whatever work you're doing? That may be from being a volunteer. That may be, hey, 10% of our sales today will go to you, right? For you to take the money and do what you need to do, okay? So just always have in your mind that I'm here to be your supporter. And sometimes you can't, you might not do everything that they need, or you might, you know what I'm saying? And so it's okay. It's okay if not everything works out, but just remember, I am a supporter, right? My business is here to support you. So just keep that kind of mentality in your mind. Okay, cool. And you guys, Q&A will come at the end. So, jot them down, remember them if you have any questions. I'm super excited to answer. Awesome. So we talked a little bit about our mission and our values, right? Aligning with different nonprofits, how you can think outside the box for your impact. And so now I want to share with you all a couple of stories of social entrepreneurs who are dear to my heart, who I know, so you can really understand social entrepreneurship looks different across the board, and you are more than capable for your business to make impact, okay? So we'll discuss three sisters. We'll discuss Dare to Be Yourself, and we'll discuss Millennials versus Everybody, okay? If you all are ready for that, go ahead and drop a 3 in the chat, and let's talk about it. Okay, so I hope, I know my screen is kind of in the way, but you can kind of see the bracelets, but I wanted to talk about three sisters, who's co-founded by Dr. Marcy O'Neill. Dr. Marcy actually spoke at Millennials versus Everybody event. We had an event called Business Profit Impact with MBE, and we were actually at Pizzaplex, which is a social enterprise. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with them, but they're in Southwest Detroit. They have a running restaurant, a business, right, doing phenomenal. They have great wine, great pizza, super good. But what makes them a social enterprise is they have a community room in the back for the communities, for their community in Southwest Detroit. So if you're in Southwest Detroit and you need a space to gather with your community, they actually have tutoring classes there. They allowed me as a social enterprise to come use their space in Southwest. And I thought it was important, if I'm gonna do an event on social entrepreneurship, why not actually support a business that does that, right? So a little bit about Dr. Marcy. So she is a professor at Wayne State. She is an anthropologist and social entrepreneur who's conducted ethnographic research in Benin for 14 years. Wow, right? She is the co-founder of Three Sisters, which uses profits raised through sales of accessories to fund education and literacy programs in Benin in West Africa. So her work focuses on social impact of higher education, on the extended family, and the role of international development in the education system. So her work is very woven into her, who she is. She spent time in Benin for 14 years, and she said, hey, I want to create an opportunity to give back to this wonderful space, right? And so she's empowering the community because they have jobs to make these beautiful accessories. If you can see the bracelets and the necklace and the tote bag, super cute, right? If I had the opportunity to shop and I knew that this was supporting a community in Benin in West Africa and is super cute, like that's something that I would want to tell my friends. I would be more than glad to purchase that. And if you see, in these pictures, their booklets, they were able to, with the money that they raised, write their own books, right? So that the classes there, the schools there would have more books to read, and they actually wrote it in 3 different languages to support the community. And you know, that's just super awesome. It's really amazing. The stories are very real and true to the community there, and so, you know, this is just an awesome business in an awesome way. So if you do jewelry, if you do, you know, if you have a service, anything, you can think about, wow, how can I, if some of my product or manufacturing can come from a community that can really use it, you can also affect impact like that, just another way. So cute, so cute. Secondly, Dare to Be Yourself by Ty Davis. I just love, love, love Ty. He has these Dare to Be Yourself shirts. And what he does is he has Dare to Be Yourself. It's a motivational and inspirational brand that champions individualism and encourages everyone to live their most authentic self. More specifically, they recognize, they specialize in apparel that promotes positive sentiments, okay? And so as a part of their mission, each month the company rolls out a new theme, okay? Focusing on a more nuanced concept to celebrate. So for example, we are in June, and they have done a Dare to Be Yourself Pride Edition. And so a portion of the proceeds of their Pride Edition t-shirts, which you can see over here on the left, maybe you're right, but it's a tie-dye shirt. A portion of the proceeds will go to the Ruth Ellis Center, which is a shelter for homelessness and at-risk LGBTQIA+ youth located in Highland Park. So he has these super dope shirts, and every time someone purchases them, a portion will go to supporting the Ruth Ellis Center. Super awesome, super dope. A past campaign includes Dare to Be Cured. So, you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so they partnered with Carmona's Cancer Institute for this shirt. And super, super awesome. You know, COVID has been a really hard time. And so they took the opportunity during this pandemic to donate Dare to Be the Frontline shirts to frontline workers, along with lunch from a local pizzeria. And 100% of the proceeds that came in allowed them to give over 150 shirts and pizzas to the frontline. And so you can see here, there's a doctor, there's a cop who's in the Dare to Be Yourself Frontline Edition. So this is just another way and a great example of how you can partner with organizations or nonprofits that align with your mission. And so Ty takes kind of like a monthly theme approach, and that's something that you can enact in your business as well. If this seems like a shirt or Three Sisters, if they're jewelry, if these things seem like things that you want to support, or social entrepreneurs that you would like to support, go ahead and put a 5 in the chat. You can purchase something super cute and support communities. Awesome, awesome. Okay, cool. This is my baby. Millennials Vs Everybody, which I'm the founder and CEO of. Social entrepreneurship was super woven into my business proposition. Everything that I wanted to do, impact was at the forefront for me. So Millennials Vs Everybody, we are a membership-based social enterprise that empowers and equips millennials with intellectual tools, professional resources, and civic engagement opportunities to lead greater lives. And so we have a 3-point holistic approach to millennial involvement, focusing on personal, professional, and civic development. And so when I first started MVE, I thought I wanted it to be a nonprofit in a way for millennials to get engaged in their community and give back. But what I really thought about is how important reciprocal relationships are, right? And millennials, we always want to grow and expand and learn. And so I thought, how can we grow our communities from the inside out? How can I empower and support millennials for them to be their own change agents, to have the resources and the things that they need for them to do work by themselves, have their own agency? And so we have memberships for millennials, for business professionals that, you know, if they have something important that they want to share with millennials, they're able to. And then we have memberships for nonprofits, for those who are trying to connect with millennials. And we help share their narrative with young people. And so each month we have workshops to empower and improve millennials in communities. And so if you look over to the left, you'll see these brown bags that say "You Matter." Each month we do, I mean, not each month, annually, we do Project Warm the Lodge. And so we put like hats and gloves and socks and warm items, and we drive down the lodge and we hand out bags to those who are standing at the side of the freeways or at stoplights. You know, you keep a couple in your car. So when you do drive past someone, especially, you guys know how freaking cold it gets, right, in the city of Detroit in the winter. So it's something really nice that I thought that we do. You see these pictures of people sitting down. This is us at WeWork. We had an event called Healing with Millennials, and it was a holistic space just to talk about healing in your mind, body, and soul. And one really, really rad testimony from that day is we had an attendee come, and one of their friends were going through an addiction. And so one of our panelists were actually able to tell him how he can relate to her a very holistic way to fight her addiction, and she was able to. And so that's just super powerful, and I'm super glad to hear that. And then there's another flyer up under that says Fine Wine Funding and Finance. Such a great event. We had an event at Microsoft and we talked about finance. We had a wonderful panel. And so there, some millennials, they changed their career to finance. They began saving, you know, and really figuring out how to live a life of comfort for them. And so, you know, we have this 3-point holistic approach to empowering millennials in all areas. And I would really, really like to say we are truly an authentic social enterprise. Okay, family, we are almost wrapping up. So turn your skills and everyday operations to a vehicle for impact. So some of you guys are like, how can I do that? You know, what does that really look like? So you can think about how a portion of your proceeds can go to a nonprofit of your interest, right? We talked about your values and how they can align with the nonprofit, and we discussed how you can find those. But you can think about, hey, a portion of my proceeds, even if you can't do it the whole year, maybe do it a month. If you can't do it a whole month, do it a week, or maybe you can do it a day, right? Anything helps. You can think about donating to community leaders. So say you have a business, you do not have the capacity for someone to do all this outreach. You can reach out to a community leader like myself or someone who represents your district, and you can say, hey, we want to do good work, but we don't necessarily have the capacity to do all the research. Can you lead us through that, right? You can do that. You can have staff volunteer outings. We talked about how good it feels to give back. It's something that's actually a super great idea for you and your staff. You guys can go out and volunteer. Sometimes nonprofits just need numbers. They really need people and support. And that's a good marketing opportunity for you as well. You know, you guys can all wear the same shirts, you know, maybe pass out some discount cards. It's really a super win-win for both sides, okay? Wow, so we are in a crazy, crazy time right now, especially for Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter is not to take away from All Lives Matter, but all lives cannot matter into Black Lives Matter. And so I'm super thankful and happy to see companies coming out from all over talking about Black Lives Matter statements. But that's only the first step, right? We have to think about, what does that look like in our work practices? What does that look like in our hiring practices? Does our C-suite reflect Black Lives Matter? Are Black voices heard in higher up leadership, right? When you think about ads and pictures, if you're including people of color, that's great, but make sure that when they come in there, think about the Black customer experience. Sometimes it's not always comfortable, or there's like standoffishness. Think about how you do that in your work practices. How do you make your space more inclusive? That has so much to do with impact as well. Similar to Pizzaplex, Allow small businesses or nonprofits to use your location for a space for gathering, for meetings, for events. If you're able to switch up your space a little bit, that's a super, super awesome way to be able to give back, allowing people to use your space. And then another great way is to use your platform to speak about issues and to raise awareness. So if there's something that you're passionate about, if you are a great company, people are going to support you. They're going to believe in your values, right? And you have an opportunity to use your platform to truly speak out about things that are impactful and important to you. Okay, so these are all wonderful ways that you can use your everyday operations for a vehicle for impact. If those sound good to you, go ahead and put a 6 in the chat. Go ahead and put a 6 in the chat if you think these are some things that your business can start doing. Awesome. Okay, and last slide. If you are really interested in really getting down and involved in this work, you can come up with a community outreach plan, or hire out for this if you don't have the capacity. But you can plan informal meetings with community leaders. The people who are in your community, you can find them. The city of Detroit has so many great resources for district leaders, people who are in the entrepreneurial space as well. You can go door to door. But one thing that's super important is you want to understand any concerns that your community has, especially if you're building a new business in a new community. You really want to listen to your community concerns. Like, hey, we know we're coming into this space that has been your home, and we want to hear your concerns, okay? You can schedule community meetings if requested, making sure you're having that back and forth dialogue. That can be very, very powerful. Like I said, especially if you're doing new development. And 3, really listen to their concerns. Are they concerned about jobs? You can think about when you're opening your new business, making sure that you're hiring people from the community, or even if you already have a business, hire someone from the community. And that's also really good word of mouth, right? People do things that they know, like, and trust. And so if they see someone in the community in your business, that can be super, super powerful for you. And once you have these conversations, really see how can your company support, and if your company can't support, what does that look like? And you can have those conversations with them. And then lastly, accountability, right? If you are building or benefiting from your store location, ensure that you are empowering the citizens of that community. Really make sure that you're like, hey, we're here, but we want to give back. Really hold yourself accountable. So those are a couple of things that you can think about if you're trying to develop a community outreach plan. If you need any assistance in that space, feel free to contact me. And this is a quote that we'll wrap it up with. If you can see, it said, learn to say no to people and projects that do not align with your goals. But we're going to switch that up a little bit, and we're going to say, learn to say yes to people and projects that do align with your goals. You all have the power to be a business of impact. You can be a business of profit and impact. We need you. We really need people to stand up and to say, hey, impact is necessary. It should be woven into the work that we do. And that's it. I want to say thank you so much for joining this session, for listening in. I hope you all learned a lot. If you want to stay connected with me, my LinkedIn and Facebook is English with an I, English Reed Jones. My email is englishrj@gmail.com. If you guys have any questions about community engagement plans or what that looks like, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. And follow me on IG. It's English with an I, literally INGLISHWITHANI. And now I am ready for your questions, your narrative, your statements. If you guys have a relatable experience, feel free to share. If you have any questions,
So English, you have a question in the Q&A and you have I think two questions in the chat. So one in the Q&A is from Parth. It says, how do you recommend startups and small businesses give back when they're short on a budget or human resources?
awesome. That's a really great question. So, what I would say is, you might not always have like the capital of the money. Maybe you can use your space to give back. Maybe you can, if you know that there's a social issue or a nonprofit in your area, maybe you can send it out in your newsletter, right? You can allow for people to post their flyers in your space. You can really use your platform, especially if you have a lot of eyes on your platform, you can use that to incorporate. Or I know Baker Hoppin Associates, what they're doing right now on their Instagram, they know that they have clients who are well connected and maybe their clients have more capital. What they did in light of the pandemic or, in this time right now, is they had nonprofit spotlights, like call to action. I'm sure that didn't cost anything at all, maybe, their time, but, they use their platform for nonprofits to do call to actions, and they shared that with their network. So helping them build opportunities and network. That is a very powerful way you can do community engagement with not a large capital.
Kathleen asks, the major funder for nonprofit agencies in Southeast Michigan is United Way. Do you not recommend them as a source of info? Is it not easy to access their data on agencies, their funding?
Yeah, I would recommend United Way. There's tons and tons of nonprofits in the space. Like, yes, they're very engaged. They do have a lot of funding. I would say if you do have questions or you want to reach out to United Way, I would definitely say go for it. First step is just making the call.
Avis asks, well, where do you advise nonprofits to seek dedicated volunteers for their events and dedicated volunteers and leaders?
Awesome. That's a really great question. So you can connect with MVE. That's one way, but I think another way is meeting them where they're at, making sure that you're connected with them on social media and that your narrative speaks to them, right? Pull on to the values that they have. Sometimes I try to make it fun. One thing that we do is we ask for millennials to donate not just money, not just time, but their skills. So nonprofits, they need to make websites, or people who are passionate about web development. They'll do it all day. I would really build interpersonal relationships, reach out to people who you see are in the community, or if they have a certain skill set that you need, try to build that relationship with them. And I think there definitely should be more space for millennials to talk about the things that, that they're passionate about or that they want to do. But sometimes it is very difficult to find volunteers. But sometimes that aligns with your narrative and making sure that you get it out in front of young people. Just try to meet them where they're at.
So Shanice asks, I have a growing marketing business that is real small. I would like to do a back to school event for Detroit to bring out the community and use our parks. Any advice you will give on how to get this started?
Yeah. So if you want to do a going back to school event, I would think about a couple of schools that you want to reach out to. They typically have like someone in community engagement, or I know when I was supposed to do an event with UPrep when they were going back to school, but COVID hit. They had a woman who was dedicated to that, kids needing volunteer hours. But I would say, yeah, reach out to the schools, get into the newsletters, reach out to other people who are doing similar work as you. Sometimes people say that the nonprofit industry is oversaturated, and part of that is true. And I think that we have to do more collaborative work. I'm sure that there are other people who are also trying to do a back to school giveaway, and collaboration is so powerful, especially if you have bigger numbers. I would reach out to LinkedIn, Facebook, do some research on other nonprofits that give back to schools, and identify, the schools that you would want to be there. And I would, reach out to them in that way. And like I said, you can also reach out to TechTown, to New, to COAG, to United, other people to find, okay, what nonprofits focus on things in this area.
So that's all the questions. There are some resources that folks have put into the chat. So thank
Awesome.
you for that. This has been a really great session. Did you have any sign off notes, English?
I would just like to say again, I appreciate you all. You are so amazing. I thank you so much. The work that you all are doing and getting ready to do is so needed in our community. And I truly, truly appreciate you all. I hope that you've learned something new, and that you know that you can be a vehicle for impact. You can make profit, have purpose, and make change, and you all are more than capable. And I'm just so thankful that you all were here to join me today.